It's this one. Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Pete Pecos. I'd like to welcome everyone to the planning board meeting for the town of Newbury. This is the 3rd of June, 2020. We are participating remotely, and we have one of our members that is trying to access right now, and that's why I still have an earpiece in place. So we're just going to kind of go through some housekeeping rules. So this is going to be a script that I'm going to be reading that is put together by our town staff. As a preliminary matter, my name is Pete Pecos. I am the chairman for the chair for the Newbury Planning Board. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. George Morse.
Yes.
Larry Murphy.
Yes.
Wonderful. Leslie Matthews.
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you. Mary Strong.
Yes.
Yes. Woody Knight, are you on board yet? Not yet. Okay. Okay, very good. Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Martha Taylor.
Yes.
Emily Noble.
Yes.
Wonderful. Anticipated speakers on the agenda, please respond in the affirmative. Ann Gagnon, land agent for any district of Mass Division of Fishery and Wildlife.
Here.
Wonderful. Bob Grasso from PLS Engineering and Land Services.
Yes.
Wonderful, thank you. Stephen Sawyer of DCI Consultants, Inc.
Steve, you're muted.
Here.
Wonderful, thank you, Steve. And Mark DePiero from the 227 A&R.
He's here. He's muted, but he's here.
Okay, great. So these are going to be the introduction to our remote meeting. This is the 3rd of June, as I indicated. It's an open meeting of the Newbury Planning Board and is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of COVID-19, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order supersedes the requirements of the open meeting law to have all meetings in publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of the public bodies are allowed to encourage and are allowed to and encouraged to participate remotely. The order, which can be found and posted on the agenda materials for this meeting, allows public bodies in their entirety to meet remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. For this meeting, the Newbury Planning Board is convening via video conference via Zoom as posted on the Planning Board's agenda, which can be found on the Planning Board section of the town's website, which identifies, I think Woody's here and I'm going to disconnect.
Yep, Woody's there.
Okay. Let me pick that back up. Planning board section of the town's website, which identifies how public may join. You may join us by going to http://zoom.us and enter meeting ID number 813-0131-3076. That number again is 813-0131-3076, or by calling 1-929-205-6099. That number again is 1-929-205-6099. And enter the meeting ID that was just provided. For our Zoom meetings, please note that the meeting is being recorded and the attendees are participating by video and telephone conference. Meeting materials have been provided to the board members prior to the meeting for the review. Applicants or their representatives may be called upon to speak and, if needed, share information. Might have been me again, I apologize. Share information to the screen, and we will we state the intention after you've been called. Meeting business ground rules. Okay. Before we turn to the first item on the agenda, please permit me to cover some of our ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I, as a chair, will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After speakers conclude their remarks, I will go down to the list of members, inviting each by name to provide any comments, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute your phone star 6 to toggle mute or unmute, or on your computer to mute or unmute button when speaking. Please use earbuds, earphones, and the tablets or cell phones. Please remember to speak clearly in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. Please be aware that video participants can see you and that you should take care not to share screen your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. For any responses, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. Board members should be called upon in alphabetical order to ease the process. If board members wish to engage in a colloquial with other members, please do so through me, taking care to identify yourself if you wish to speak. Public comments, you really won't be having public comment, we'll just be having presentations. I think you're going to be hearing from my puppy in the background. After the board members have spoken, I will forward the public comment. We're not going to need to have a raising of hands, so we can bypass that. Finally, each vote will be taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. My vice chair will be kicking me under the table to be certain that I achieve that. All agenda items will be handled in the same manner. Note, following the meeting, we're going to turn to our agenda to address our orders. There will be a continuance today at 7:15 for Newbury Self-Storage, and we will apply that accordingly. So I think I am set with those ground rules. And let's see, I think at this time we can start our submissions. Martha, you comfortable with that?
Yes.
Okay. So our first submission will be Paul Donahue of Donahue Survey Inc. For a submission of an AR plan for a lot split of 247 Middle Road map R15 lot 8. Owner applicant Parker Thumb Realty Trust, William D&D and Deborah Morrison trustees.
So Paul is not here, but Ann Gagnon can speak to the A&R.
Great.
And Pete, I don't know if you want to try to bring it up on the screen or.
Okay, let me see now. Folks, I'm going to have you bear with me here because I'm going to go into some technology here. And we're going to go to here. Try to share a screen. So, Martha, I think you're going to have to allow screen sharing.
Ah. Okay, hold on a sec. I'm going to try this.
It'll probably be under settings.
Great technology here. Otherwise, do you want me to try to do it?
If you're comfortable with that, sure. So on the bottom of the screen will be a share screen, and then it'll pop up your screen, and then you'll have to identify which file you want to open.
All right, I'm just checking. I actually cannot allow anybody besides myself to share the screen. So let me see if I can do this.
Okay.
You're not seeing that, are you?
No. So the bottom of your computer will have a little green arrow with a share screen sign. You click on that, and that should populate up your screen.
Yep. Okay, hold on a sec.
Only the host can share in this meeting.
That's right.
Right. Getting there, folks.
It's okay.
Okay,
So
here we go.
this is one of the disadvantages of technology. We had everything, all the screens to be shared from my perspective, but our learning curve is that can't take place. So we appreciate everyone's patience.
It is telling me that I can't do it. So I'm not quite sure what to do here.
Okay.
Is it saying screen sharing has failed to start? The window you selected is invalid.
Martha, we were able to screen share before.
I know we were. I think some of the settings may have been changed.
Okay.
I know my problem today was Zoom wanted to update the app for my tablet. Now my name is wrong.
Oh,
So,
yes.
I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Okay, stick with us, folks. George, I saw you holding up some papers.
That was a map, a plan.
Okay. That is one option, if need be. Anne, can you see that?
I can.
And would you like to speak to that then?
Yeah, that's actually not the right plan, unfortunately.
It
though.
isn't, it isn't. No, because we need the plan for, is that 247, Martha?
247 Middle Road,
Right,
Oh,
right,
yes.
right, right.
Yeah.
Parker Thumb. So if you want, I can talk about it a little while we're pulling up the plan.
So actually, George, that is it. So if you can move your hand to the right a little bit, George, we will see. That's perfect. So folks, board members, you do have this in your packet. For the folks in the public, I apologize. But Anne, if you can maybe describe the lot and what has been divided from the lot in the back, is it 16.9 acres, if I remember correctly?
Exactly, yep.
Okay.
So this parcel is across the street, across Middle Road from the Kavanaugh property. I don't know if you remember, but relatively recently, a few months ago perhaps, that parcel was carved up in an A&R plan.
Yes.
And this is actually part of a larger project that we got a grant for from the Army Corps of Engineers to protect land along the Parker River. So the name of the project was called the Parker River Connector Project. And it involves actually 3 different parcels. The Kavanaugh property, this property, which is owned by the Morrisons, and then about 75 acres of land that's currently owned by the Essex County Greenbelt Association. So all this land is right along the bank of the Parker River. The majority of it is floodplain and salt marsh. And in this particular instance on the Morrison property, I think you mentioned it's a roughly 19 acres, I believe. And it is almost entirely salt marsh with a little bit of upland island that's surrounded by salt marsh. So there's a clump
It's
of
dashed.
trees. Excuse me?
It's the dashed area right in the middle of the plan.
Middle,
Right
yeah.
now.
I'm pointing, but you can't see.
Yeah, I was too.
Excuse
Anyway.
me, can I ask a question quickly? Is anyone
Sure.
having, Ann sounds really loud? Is it on her end or our end? Does it sound loud to everyone or is it just me?
Might be your it might be your end, Mary.
All right, that's fine. That's fine. It's all good.
Been trying to speak up because in the past in Zoom meetings, people have said they've had trouble hearing me. So I'll try to tune it down a little.
No, that's all right. That's just, it's only mine. So.
Yeah.
figure it out.
So
Ann.
anyways, this for this particular A&R lot, the parcel that the Department of Fish and Game would be purchasing would be a non-buildable lot, and it would only be accessible from Parker River. So primarily for wildlife habitat.
Wonderful. So it seems to be a pretty straightforward utilization of land that its main purpose would be to be maintained as it is, which is wetlands and on the banks of the river. Martha, do we have any special considerations or needs for this particular situation for this?
I don't think so. I've gone through the plan. I had very few comments. One was to show the limit of the Great Marsh Area of Critical Environmental Concern and the floodplain, which were added to the plan. So those are on the ones that I sent over to you this afternoon. And other than that, the portion of the lot with the house has the required frontage and more than enough area. So, and the part that's being carved off is a non-buildable lot, so.
So the submission looks pretty straightforward from your perspective.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any questions from any of the board members regarding this submission, which is before us?
Not for me.
Okay.
No,
All right. I would entertain a motion to accept the submission.
To endorse.
Endorse the submission. Thank you very much.
I move we endorse the submission.
Second.
All right. Any discussion, further discussion? All right. I'm going to do a roll call if we could. Larry, how say you?
Yes.
George, how say you?
Yes.
Mary, how say you?
Yes.
And Leslie, how say you?
Yes.
And what are your opinion, my friend?
Sure, yes.
Beautiful. And Peter says yes. Thank you very much. Appreciate that submission. Thank you for your time, Ann.
Thank
Before
you.
you move on, Pete, I have a question for Martha. Martha, do you need a motion to allow Pete to endorse this, or we have that in place already?
That's in place already. He and you individually are both authorized to endorse the plan.
Okay.
So what Pete and I will need to do is to coordinate to get his signature on the Form A and on the Mylar and the prints, and then I'll coordinate with Ann to get those to her. But we're all set as far as signing is concerned.
Okay, thank you.
But thank you for the question. It's a good reminder.
Thank you,
And
Larry.
thank you very much, guys. I appreciate you doing this even under these circumstances.
Thank you, Ann. It's fabulous.
Yeah, and thank you, Martha, for all your assistance.
Oh, you're welcome.
All right, well, you guys know how to reach me if you need me, right?
Yeah, so as soon as the plan is signed, I'll be in touch and then we can figure out how to get it to you.
Great. Thanks again. Have a good evening.
Thanks, you too.
You too.
Thanks, Ann.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
We're a couple minutes past 7:15, so I'd just like to kind of go into our public hearing continuance. This is for the 3rd of June. This will be two parts. Part number 1 is pursuant to Chapter 53 of the Acts of 2020, Section 17, the public hearing for the special permit application for Stowaway Storage LLC, doing business as Newbury Self-Storage, William DiFrancesco, manager, dated the 8th of January 2020 for expansion of a self-storage facility known as Newbury Self-Storage at 131 Newburyport Turnpike, Assessor's Map R36, Parcel 23 and 24, shall be continued to July 1st, 2020 at 7:15 at the Newbury Municipal Building Offices, 12 Kent Way, Byfield, Mass. Second floor by the chair. And the second part of this is pursuant to Chapter 53 of the Acts of 2020, Section 17, the public hearing for the site plan review application of Stowaway Storage LLC, doing business as Newbury Self-Storage, William DiFrancesco, manager, dated January 8th, 2020 for expansion of the self-storage facility known as Newbury Self-Storage at 131 Port Turnpike, Assessor's Map R36, parcels 23 and 24 shall be continued to July 1st, 2020 at 7:15 at the Newbury Municipal Offices, 12 Kent Way, Byfield, Mass. Second floor hearing room, again issued by the chair. So that will take care of that continuance. Okay. Continuing on our agenda, we're going to have another submission appearance by Bob Grasso, PLS Engineering Land Surveying LLC, submission of an A&R plan for a lot line change between 31 Rolfs Lane, map U06, lot 12, owner Christopher and Sarah Harrison, and off Rolfs Lane, map U06, lot 126, owner applicant Scott and Patricia. No. Oh, beautiful. How did you do that, Martha?
I don't know. I couldn't do the other one, but
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Because I didn't want to talk through this one. Okay. Our submitters have the floor.
For the record, my name is Bob Grassel from Engineering Land Services. I'm representing Scott Kinter and the Harrisons, which are located at 31 Rolfs Lane. We're doing a lot line adjustment plan. Basically, we're just taking a piece off of the existing dwelling of 31 and adding it to a non-buildable lot, which is owned by the Kintners right here.
I don't know if you can see it. This is,
That little piece right there, parcel A, it's not a buildable lot to be combined with lot 28. So it's going to get subtracted from 31 and added to lot 28.
so,
The
That's-
reason why we're doing this, this is for future development. We're probably going to get access off of Shandell Drive. That will be a process that we'll have to file with you under the definitive subdivision control law. That will be coming up soon with our filing. But this is the first process to get the area for the lot so we can minus some of the area for the future right-of-way onto this lot to create frontage off of Shandell Drive.
right in here.
So that's the basic purpose of this this plan is to just add a parcel from 4A to 28. And it's still a non-buildable lot as lot 28 as with this added piece.
Right.
And on the other hand, we've also filed this lot with a site plan with the Conservation Commission last year, and we got approved for the site plan. So we're gearing up to file a definitive subdivision plan with you in the future.
Okay, Martha, do you have any questions?
No, I've been with this for a while. It had to go through some process. Shall I unscreen share now? Or do you want to keep it up?
Well, we have the image up. Does anyone have any questions about what has been discussed from the visual?
No.
Oh,
All right, Martha, I think that we can unscreen share then, if that's the case.
All right.
So if there's no question from any of the board members and the materials seem to be appropriate and Martha has no additional questions or comments, because as she said, this has been a work in progress for some time.
Right, and it did have to go through some process with the Newburyport Planning Board as well, since it was a lot that was created through a subdivision there back in the 70s. But that process has been complete. So I think it's good to go.
All right. I would entertain a motion.
I'll move we endorse the plan.
second.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Okay, I will do a roll call vote at this point in time. Larry, how say you?
Yes.
Wonderful. George?
Yes.
Wonderful. Mary?
Yes.
Wonderful. Leslie?
Yes,
Wonderful. And Woody? How do you feel?
Yes.
All right. And then Peter also will endorse this, say yes. Thank you very much. Appreciate that, folks.
Thank you.
Great.
So Bob, it'll be same thing as I discussed with Ann. We'll coordinate with Pete to get the Mylar signed and then
Just leave it.
contact you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Martha. And thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Have a good night.
Have a good night.
All right. Continuing on our agenda, we have old business, which first will be in our plan for a lot line change and lot split at 277 High Road, map R11, lot 70. Owner applicant DePiro LLC, previously submitted for endorsement. Oh, thank you, Martha.
You're welcome.
Wonderful. And who will be addressing this, Martha?
I think Steve Sawyer will be addressing this.
Great. Steve, it's all yours.
Good evening, Steve Sawyer from DCI here on behalf of Mark DePiro. Excuse me. So this actually, excuse me, this was submitted back in, I think, April, but I guess the board, at that point, the board was not willing to take administrative action. And at this point, we've been long enough looking to take administrative action. It's an A&R plan. It meets all the regulations. Martha's reviewed it. We did get some comments late yesterday. We responded to those comments and incorporated them into this plan. And that's about it. So we did with this, as far as the lot one, I think the change is lot one and lot two have been subdivided. So lot one, the septic design for lot one is approved. Deb Rogers mentioned that the new system, the modification to that system is approved. So we're good to go. Mark's had a buyer ready for that house for a while now. He wants to renovate, keep the historical structure intact, and they've been very anxious to get in there and get to work on it and get going on it. So we're hoping that we can get this endorsed tonight, or voted to be endorsed tonight and signed, so he can close on the property and begin to work on it.
Thank you, Steve.
So may I ask
Martha?
one question? I
Sure.
think these lot lines were all adjusted slightly from the ones previously. Is that correct? To make it get enough area to divide that into two parcels?
I believe so. I'm not aware, as far as it previously, no, it was a previous, I guess the previous plan was never recorded, I don't believe.
It was recorded in
Oh,
January.
it was recorded, I didn't see it on the.
But lot one was actually smaller. I think it was about 60,000 square feet, so
Yeah.
not quite large enough to
Yeah.
divide into two.
Yeah.
So just to clarify, the house and the garage stay with lot one, and the barn is going to be with lot two.
Martha, are those lot line changes of any significance, or are they minor significance?
They're minor. They all still have the adequate frontage and area.
Okay,
It was just a kind of a tweak.
okay, all righty. Do any of the board members have a question as to what's been presented?
I do have a question, just a curiosity question. Just below the word cottage, there is a space called a vehicle access location. What does that mean?
Well, actually, that was a comment from Martha. It's part, I think it's item N. It says you need to show, typically it's not shown on, we typically don't show it, the location, but it is an item in the A&R regulations that you need to show access from a public way within the frontage. So we ended up, I don't think it's appropriate to show an actual driveway location, because we don't know where the driveway is going to be. But that's all it is. It's okay. We have access from a public way, and this is where we'll be accessing accessing the lot, just to check the box of, I believe it's item N in the what's to be shown on a A&R plan.
Right, that's correct. So it does require that vehicular access across the lot's frontage be shown on the A&R plan. So rather than setting an exact driveway location, Steve has basically indicated that the access is viable across the frontage. Biggest concern is this lot because of the intersection here, to keep it as far away from the intersection as possible.
That answers my question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, George. Are there any other questions from board members about this submission?
Not that I can say.
Okay, I think we're good with the screen share, Martha.
Okay.
Beautiful. That being the case, I would entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the A&R design on High Road.
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Larry, how say you? George, how say you?
Yes.
Wonderful. Mary, how say you?
Yes.
Leslie, how say you?
Yes.
And what are your opinion?
Yes.
Wonderful, and the chair votes in favor. Thank you very much. Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it. Appreciate your patience.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, continuing on old business. We're going to have a discussion regarding the planning board's comments for the ZBA regarding the Village at Cricket Lane 40B application. Martha, do you want to start this ball rolling?
Sure. So the ZBA has continued their public hearing to June 25th. Would still like to get comments from the planning board on the submission. And so I'm hoping that tonight we can, if not complete the conversation, at least start the conversation about the issues that the board members see with the plan, anything that we want to communicate to the ZBA I've sent you the letters that were that were prepared by the planning board and then sent from the town to Mass Housing last year. It's kind of a basis for the conversation. A lot of our letter was very detailed because there were inconsistencies and inaccuracies in the original application for site approval that we wanted to point out. Those aren't necessarily relevant now because the project has been given the approval to go forward, but there are still some significant issues, particularly with effectively the cul-de-sac on the end of a very long cul-de-sac. There are public safety concerns which have been voiced by our fire chief as well as by the traffic consultant that the ZBA has hired to do peer review. So I think that, some of the significant ones have not changed. So the cul-de-sac length, the closeness of the structures to each other. So I think they're still only about 15 feet apart, which the fire chief sees as an issue. The stress on the Byfield, basically on the Parker River watershed. We've had sort of differing opinions between Byfield Water and the residents as to the amount of water, the water flow down there, because the residents have noted repeatedly that there are times of low flow. And there are environmental issues there, obviously, which the Concom will be addressing. As far as I know, this has not yet been submitted to the Concom. No notice of intent has been filed, although the applicant did state originally that they were going to run the two hearings concurrently, but that doesn't seem to have happened so far. We know that there was one vernal pool that was certified through the process the last time this was before the board, and stormwater management and some of the other things are all still getting very, very close to the wetland boundaries and things like that. So I'm throwing out just a few things that seem to still be issues, and I don't know if there's anything else that the board has noted that they would like to include in a letter. And if we need to carry this conversation over to the next time, that would be fine. I can just take some notes and try to craft something which could be discussed in more detail at the June 17th meeting.
So we do have the opportunity to continue the discussion after we get started this evening. And we need our comments to ZBA by which date, Martha?
Well, so Susan really wanted to get them as soon as possible so the board members could review them and they could also get them to the peer reviewers.
Okay.
So I would suggest that getting any comments to the ZBA no later than, say, the 18th or the 19th.
Okay. So definitely by our next meeting, we should have our comments in place. Okay.
All together. And I think if you haven't had a chance to review in detail, if you want to email me your comments individually, not to the whole board, but just to me individually, I think that could also possibly be done, and I could.
I prefer that method.
Yeah.
Has everyone had an opportunity to see the previous response on the previous development?
Yes.
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 So, as Martha said, some of the things we won't drill down because we're not concerned with this developer in the project. But the safety concerns are, of course, one of our high priority concerns, and traffic flow. And so if there are any comments, we could discuss those now.
Let me start
All
with the on page 2. Fire chief states that the layout should provide 20 feet of space between the houses due to exposure issues in the event of fire. Now, the word should is must or should. Does he require that absolutely? Or is it unequivocal, or there's some flexibility there?
Yeah, my issue too.
I actually discussed that with him today. Unfortunately, he can't really require it. The last time around, the developer made the argument that he could actually move them closer together. So he can't require it, but it is something that he would definitely like to see. Part of the issue is that because of the slopes, it's very hard to get apparatus behind those buildings. And if you can't get it easily between the buildings, you're going to have some serious firefighting issues there.
So has the issue with the road been resolved? In other words, if two emergency vehicles had to pass each other at the same time. Has that issue been resolved? Can they do that now?
I think it's wide enough to do that. There is an issue with the roadway, however, with the short dead ends that are going off there, because that means that he's got to start stacking up vehicles, which he doesn't like to do. And again, I don't think he can't require that they not have them, but he can certainly express his concerns about public safety.
Okay.
And his concern also is if, you know, say if you have a situation where you've got, God forbid, two emergency situations on Pearson Drive, and all of a sudden fire trucks or emergency vehicles are blocking vehicles from getting to another location. It's a very, very difficult situation there.
Right.
And I think something that we haven't even spoken about is snow and the conditions that could create.
Right.
If we do have a, right.
Road narrow. Yeah.
George, did you have something else that you wanted to ask?
Yeah, I did the only question about moving houses. If you can move them closer together, you can move them a little bit more apart. If you separate two houses by 2.5 feet each, then you would close up to the other ones and create a 15-foot or 20-foot lane. And you could do that alternately all around the development. So the houses are slightly offset, but creating a number of 20-foot lanes.
Very good point. Thank you, George.
Yep.
Larry, did you want to articulate something there?
No, just Martha, do I understand that, well, we prepared for our signatures, a very comprehensive document, which we forwarded to the state. Do I understand you that some of the concerns raised in that document have been satisfied?
I wouldn't say they've been satisfied. Some of them were really geared towards correcting inaccuracies and inconsistencies in their site approval application. For example, they tried to make a very big point that there's public transportation there, which there isn't.
Well, yeah, I've missed it if there is.
So I think we all did. Our point was that the only thing that might qualify as public transportation was the ring and ride, which really, to my mind, does not mean it's not scheduled bus that you can pick up at 5:10 or something like that. So my point is that there are things in the original application that we commented on in the hope that they would recognize that this was not a desirable site. They've chosen it, so some of those comments really aren't relevant anymore. So I think we sort of need to focus on the plan on the ground, so to speak, and the issues that we see.
I mean, are there any additional issues that we would add to that document? Were we doing it over again?
I need to take another look at it to see, but I think the issues that I've noted so far are pretty much the same as the ones that we had before.
I mean, where I'm going with this is I'm just thinking we really have a good outline of what we can submit to the ZBA. And I'm wondering if it would be appropriate to suggest, I don't mean to put any more work on you, Martha, but perhaps you could draft something off of that document for us to consider and vote on at the next meeting.
That's basically what I was thinking that I would do, but I was hoping if there were any additional comments from board members tonight that that maybe we didn't cover last time, those could be added in.
I don't have anything. I think George really hit, George's suggestion is very intriguing, but.
Would that reduce the number of houses though, with by increasing the distance between the houses? Would that reduce the number of houses that could be built by, just because
I haven't really the plan. It was just a thought that came to mind that if you want some 20-foot spaces between in some cases 20 feet between two houses, you can move a couple of houses closer together and begin to create those lanes. I don't know how many the chief wants, but he has to get in behind the houses somehow. The other question the chief raised, he said the way, instead of being 18 feet, must be at least 22 feet in width. Is that going to be respected too?
I believe that is.
Good, okay.
But, you know, one suggestion that came up last time around was that the applicant was making the point that they were being consistent in their design with the sort of the character of the Pearson Drive neighborhood. But the point that we made last time was that it was really very much denser than the Pearson Drive neighborhood.
Totally different.
You know, which are larger lots. So the suggestion could, I think it was made last time, and it could be made again, that the project would benefit from maybe a reduction in number of units. The one downside of that is that it reduces the number of affordable units as well.
Wasn't there also an issue with the question of whether or not the affordable units were on this on equal footing with the market rate units?
Right.
There was a question about that. There was some,
Number of bathrooms and.
yeah, the finishes were different. There were no, as I recall, there were no 4-bedroom affordable units. They were all 3-bedroom. And there is supposed to be, you know, a parity between those. The finishes were different. The interior finishes were different, which is not unusual, but in terms of what's being offered as a dwelling unit, they were not equal. So there was some percentage of the market rate units that were 4 bedrooms, so some percentage of the affordable units should also be 4-bedroom.
Right, and the issue becomes, it's not just what is required, but what is right.
Right.
What's
Right,
the right thing to do?
right.
And comparable. That's the whole point of affordable housing, right?
And another issue that residents brought up was that there were no provisions for making any of these units, you know, accessible.
Really? Wow.
They're not even
Handicap accessible,
following,
right?
Yeah, that's
even
huge.
following universal design principles and things like that. So that's an issue, especially if we want to have them be attractive for some of our older population.
Right, right.
Given the slopes that are there, I think a number of them had sort of lower level, potentially walkout spaces, which would not be, you know, great for
So
accessibility.
that gives you an indication of the mindset of the contractor and the builder. It has to be equal. Just has to be, right? And it isn't. The overarching issue there? To me, it is.
Very important point, Mary.
Yep.
Leslie, did you have any thoughts or comments?
I just wanted to, like a clarification, as far as the interior finishes, they don't have to be matched to from the affordable. So, I mean, you can replace Formica for granite or
Right.
carpet for hardwood. Okay.
You know, they need to essentially have the same amenities, but they don't need to be the same finishes on the inside. They should on the outside, though. You want them all to look the same.
Right. For consistency.
Right.
Woody, did you have any thoughts?
Yeah, did I see somewhere there's no open space on this plan, right?
What they're claiming is that the top of the septic system will serve as the open space, so they could set up some recreation fields there or something.
All right.
But there's no designated open space.
Open space there.
One more question. There was the one virile pool, but weren't there other 2 bodies of water within that subdivision?
There's another vernal pool. Unfortunately, the Natural Heritage, I think, wanted to see more hydrological studies before they would certify it. So I think that one may be considered a potential, but it has not been certified as a vernal pool.
Okay.
The other one was, that was kind of right on the edge of the Martin Burns.
Which just kind of made me think of something. And I know this happened when we did our site walk, Martha. We talked about the close proximity of Martin Burns. And if I remember right, one structure is going to be, I think, about 10 feet or 12 feet away from the stone wall. And that's, as we know, it's an active hunted, stalked wildlife area. So there have to be some consideration, safety issues taken into account. Potential hunting very close to a house being within 10 feet of the wall, which is on a property boundary.
Right, well, there's a 500-foot buffer around a house within which they can't discharge any firearms. So basically that means that Martin Burns loses 500 feet of hunting area.
The entire length, whatever that summation is.
Right,
But
so,
excuse me, Martin Burns is dedicated to hunting, among other things.
that was as well by, yeah,
Yeah,
that's right. So I know that the attorney for the applicant did indicate that perhaps there could be some discussions with, you know, Fish and Wildlife to maybe make some trade-offs or something, but I don't know if that's gotten anywhere or not.
And Martha, did the backside of this property also have a certain amount of land that was not buildable, that was going to remain developed? Remember
There's
that
a lot,
correctly?
well, there's a lot of wetlands on this parcel, if that's what you,
That was to the east,
yeah, it's
to the north and to the east, yeah.
Yeah. So they are using every buildable inch of the site. You know, either for, well, for the dwellings, the roadway, and the stormwater management plan, and the septic.
Any other concerns or thoughts, folks? So I'd encourage you, if you do have some concerns or thoughts, to mail them individually to Martha. And Martha, we can work on constructing a new response letter to the ZBA. We'll maybe have a draft, do you think, for our next meeting?
Yeah, no, we have to meet the timeline. Now, I know that there are a number of people, I can see there are a number of people from Pearson Drive who have tuned into the meeting. So hopefully all of you know that the hearing has been continued to June 25th, and really any comments that you all have should be sent to Susan, the ZBA administrator, to be passed on to the ZBA. I'm happy to take any, but we're really, the planning board is not the repository for that now.
Thank you for that clarification, Martha. Wonderful. Okay. Okay, so concluding that item of on our agenda, we have new business, which is FY21 appointments, and this is new business because it basically came onto our radar screen this afternoon, that we weren't exactly certain as to when the selectmen were going to be having their summertime hearing schedule, so that we needed to get some appointments or suggested appointments to the board of selectmen for their next meeting, especially since we have an election in place. So we have three appointments. One will be a planning board members of the Concom, which is a 3-year appointment. The second is an MVP commissioner, which is a 1-year appointment. And the third is an MVP alternate commissioner, which is a 1-year appointment. Currently, I serve as the Concom rep for the planning board. Martha serves as the MVP commissioner, and I have served as the alternate commissioner. I am open for discussion as to how we'd like to go forward with this item.
Have there been any submissions for these?
So these would be members of our board
Okay.
for these 3 positions. Yes, Martha, do you want to say something?
Well, just to clarify, so under the town's bylaws, one member of the Conservation Commission is a planning board member.
Oh, right. Okay.
So, and that's a position that Pete has been filling since Rachel left. She was the Conservation Commission member previously, and Jim Robinson was before that. And then the MVPC commissioner and alternate commissioners are also, you know, among us. I've been serving as the commissioner. I was the alternate for quite some time. I became the commissioner after John Weiss left. And Pete became the alternate. So, so I guess the options are either to keep them the same, we'd need some motions to do that, or else if anybody else is interested in stepping into any of these positions.
Would anyone like to step to any positions? Larry, do I see you jumping up and down over there?
No, but in all candor, Pete, you've done your time, so to speak. I don't feel particularly well qualified for any of those positions, but if, someone would like out, I'd step forward.
You're a good man, Larry.
And the other position is a ZBA liaison. I see that as being more informal, although Ellen was asking me about, recommendation for appointment on that as well. I will make one note, maybe out of turn, but the Concom itself is going through some changes right now with Doug Packer retiring and some other shifts. So that's also something to take into consideration, consistency. But Pete, that kind of puts you back in the hot seat. So.
Would someone like to be the alternate commissioner for MVPC?
Can't do it.
Can do it? Okay.
I don't think I'm quite qualified for it. So I would think that I would say a no for myself.
Larry, if you wanted to step forward to a position, would you want to do that one?
If you need me to. Once again, it's not something I feel that I have a lot to contribute at this point, but I guess maybe that's the whole point of getting involved, isn't it? Learn about those things. So yes, I would do that.
Wonderful. Thank you, Larry.
Unless somebody wants to be commissioner, but I'm happy to continue.
Mary, you're awful quiet there.
I really can't commit.
Okay. Woody?
I know this is a hard one before the election too, though, because things will shift with us.
Right, that's what usually we have this discussion after the
After
election.
the election.
Yeah.
That's why all of a sudden it kind of came as a bit of a surprise that we needed to deal with some of this right now.
And why do we have to again?
Well, these three appointments are all expiring as of June 30th.
Okay.
So if we want to have people in these positions, they need to be voted on by the Board of Selectmen. The appointments need to be voted on next Tuesday.
Okay.
Because they won't be having a second meeting in June because of town meeting, which is on the 23rd.
Right. Okay.
So,
I understand.
Another thought though is that if the board wanted to vote on their recommendations to the selectmen now, if things change during the year, we could always
Revisit that.
So,
And what day of the week does Concom meet on?
It's the second, I'm sorry, it's the Tuesday on the third week, the third week, it's Tuesday, so it's the night before our planning board meeting.
Oh, okay. So it's not before the Board of Selectmen meeting or the night of? Okay,
It's an alternate week,
okay.
because the Board of Selectmen typically we meet on the second and fourth. Do I have that correct, Martha?
yes.
Woody, did you want to say something?
No, I'm just thinking,
Okay, all right. You had that pensive, like,
yeah, no, I'm just thinking,
Okay.
being new, I'm not gonna jump into anything with them right now. So,
all right. So
So where does that leave Larry? He's zoning board? And,
I'm going to be the alternate to the,
okay.
what's that organization? Merrimack Valley.
NVPC,
I know all about it.
which is it's actually a great organization.
I know it is, Pete.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I'm familiar with it from a distance, and they do
Right.
great work. My only hesitation was I just don't know what I have to offer at this point. But then I'm the alternate. I'm not the. Is that the right term, Martha? Alternate commissioner?
Yes, it is the alternate commissioner. And basically, you'd be welcome to come to any meeting, but I'll just say while I've been commissioner, Pete has stood in for me when I haven't been able to attend. Sometimes we've gone together.
Yeah, I think I'd like to do that. Perhaps join you at a meeting and kind of get the feel of the way things work. And
Yeah, and you would be welcome to do that anytime. It's a great group of people.
good.
So does that mean the ZBA will also need a board member if Larry is going to be shifting his position?
Well, I'm just a liaison. I'm not a voting
Oh.
member, and I have no
Wonderful.
problem staying on as
So
liaison to the
it's
ZBA.
Concom that you need.
Well, that's
something
Pete right
separate.
now. It looks like Pete.
Yeah.
You've been, I mean, you've put your dues in. How long's it been?
So Concom, it's only this past year. I got involved with Concom relatively recently when Rachel left.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
last,
yeah, that's
last
right.
August.
Yeah.
So it hasn't been quite a year, and there's a learning curve with Concom, there's no doubt, and there's transition going on there.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a new chairperson, and there's going to be a new staff individual. So there's some shifting things going on there. So I'd be happy to continue, and if need be, I can always relinquish it down the road.
Yeah, we can certainly revisit it at some point. But I think to Martha's point earlier, given the real radical transition that's going on there with Doug leaving and all, I don't know if radical is the right word, but difficult transition. It probably would be a good thing if you could maintain it, if we could maintain as much consistency as possible.
Yeah, I agree with Larry. I think it
At
makes
least in the
sense.
near future. I have no problem at any point, Pete, revisiting this if you
Okay.
feel it's,
Yeah, with a big shakeup going on.
appropriate.
You don't mind?
Um,
Well, I guess my suggestion could be too that, I'm not completely familiar with Concom. So I've only been to like shared meetings, but I'm willing to start attending the meetings. And then if down the road, it looks like a shift could happen, I could
Great.
step in.
Okay, great, perfect. Okay, Martha, we would then submit
Need some motions.
yeah, I'm just, because we submit the names and then the board actually, Board of Selectmen actually vote on who they accept. Is that
They
correct?
make the appointments, right? Right.
Okay, I would entertain a motion to accept the submissions as we've discussed.
So
I
moved.
move we accept.
Okay, is there a second?
Second,
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, roll call. Larry, how say you?
Yes.
George, how say you?
Yes.
Mary, how say you?
Yes.
Leslie, how say you?
yes.
And Woody, I want to ask your opinion.
Yes.
Wonderful. And I would also support it as well. Okay. Thank you, Martha. That takes care of that new business.
Thank you.
May financial report. I think I have
Before
that.
you move on, Pete, what about an alternate members of the planning board? Is that something?
So, Mary, I don't want to speak for.
Please, go right.
No, please go right ahead. I think you had conversations with Martha about wanting to maybe continue your involvement as an alternate.
That's correct. So I would like to continue very much with the group and do whatever I can. My circumstances are such that I believe that I serve the purposes better if I were an alternate at this point.
Wonderful. I appreciate that very much, and I welcome you to continue your participation.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
That'd be great.
Yeah, it's wonderful. So Larry, I guess to your question, do you feel that it could be appropriate to, knowing that Woody is running for election and
I'm betting he's going to win.
There's a lot
You never
of
know.
these out
Those
there.
write-in campaigns for the planning board. But
Leslie,
I don't know
we'll
what that
see,
leaves
right?
us. I mean, Woody's the alternate until when? The election or until the end of June?
well,
He can't be
that's,
both, did he? So I assume you.
Yeah, I'm confused
Right.
on that one.
Yeah, I mean, that's a question I have as to whether, when he's elected, if he will need to resign as the associate member since his appointment is through June 30th. You know, Mary is off as soon as the election is done. So I guess the question is, could the board vote to recommend that Mary be appointed as the associate member?
For the
effective-
balance of this fiscal year and for the upcoming fiscal year.
Right. So
That's a good
effective
point.
June 17th, basically.
Right, but it might actually need 2 appointments, one for the balance of June and then one for the next fiscal year, because it runs July 1 to June 30th, correct?
It does, although sometimes they've combined two if there's a short time period. I could find that out.
Well, that's fine. Well, I mean, I don't think structurally it matters as long as it's made clear that her appointment begins. Because when it begins, because we're going to need, when the election's the 16th, I think, right?
Yes.
We have a meeting on the 17th, and I don't know where that leaves us in terms of public hearing participation and all of that.
Right, and we do one of those hearings that will be really opening for the first time. Well, it's the Collintonian special permit, common driveway special permit, which requires a supermajority. So if one of the other board members wasn't able to participate, then it would be good to, to have Mary in place so that she could.
Absolutely.
Larry, I always appreciate how you think.
Well, thanks, I think.
He wants something from
It's Murphy's Law. I've lived with it all my life.
No, it's good,
What
it's
will
good.
go wrong
It's-
what can go wrong will go wrong.
Yep. Okay. So can we amend that motion to include,
And we can just make a second motion.
then I would welcome a second motion to appoint, to encourage the Board of Selectmen to appoint Mary as our alternate. And that wasn't my dog, so I'm happy. Okay. Is there a motion?
Motion
Thank
to
you.
make Mary our alternate.
Sorry, but yeah, for the balance of this fiscal
For the
year and
balance.
the next fiscal year.
Balance of the fiscal year and the next fiscal year.
I will second that.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Okay. Okay, roll call vote. Larry,
Yes.
George,
Yes.
Mary,
Thank you, yes.
Leslie.
Yes.
Woody, your opinion for now?
Yes.
All right, and Peter supports this as well. Thank you very much. Great. Okay, let me exit this and go over to see where we're at now. May financial, great. Let me pull this up. I think this is a Word document. And financial. Planning Board Financial Report, May 2020, payroll and invoices authorized. Number 1, payroll warrants for the town planner and town planner administrator. A is PR 20-23 for pay periods ending 5-9-20, and B is PR 20-24 for pay period ending 5/23/20. The second component is the Planning Board expense invoices, which would be the Verizon Wireless Planning Board iPad for 5/25/20. And finally, our escrow accounts, engineering, peer review and site observation, Joseph Walker, 5/21/20 for 68 Green Street subdivision, Jackman, and for 5/21/2020 for 136 Main Street, Borrego Solar. Okay, and that would be our May financial. Bless you. Town planners report, Martha.
I don't know. I actually don't have too much to report. I think, as you all know, we are still closed to the public indefinitely. So as soon as I know anything, I'll let you all know. But we are, we're working well and functioning and have our protocols in place. There are some public hearings that we will have to schedule. Applications that have been received during this time when we've been closed and are under the state of emergency. But, my understanding is that the board wants to kind of get moving with the ones that we already had, and then we can look at ones going forward. So,
Is there a way, as we get closer to these public hearings, that we can arrange to pick up paper copies of the documents?
yes, and I will have, I've got hard copies of the the gas station, and I've got hard copies of the 105 High Road OSRD to distribute. So what we're doing right now, there's a drop box outside Leslie's door, and people are either leaving things there or picking them up, and so we can make arrangements to do that.
Wonderful. Good. Any other questions for Martha right now?
I don't think so.
Let's see what we have. Liaison reports. Leslie, anything from the Board of Selectmen?
Well, there was a brief, as you know, the continuation last night, but last week it was a combo meeting between the BOS and FinCom to go over the warrants. And also they had there was a discussion on citizens petitions and how they wanted to proceed with that as far as like even placement on the warrants, and citizens' concerns to where they want, if they want to just have these concerns all put to at the very beginning, or to have them after each warrant was discussed. And then there was a discussion on the bathroom facility project down at Plum Island. And yesterday, I guess, Tracy and a few other people were going to go over to Triton to figure out the logistics of how we're going to do the town meeting over there. It has a capacity of 800 to be seated in there, and we usually get 200 to 300. So they'll put all the guidelines in place, and we can have our town meeting
In the auditorium.
in the auditorium.
Great. That'd be great.
Any questions for Leslie, anybody? Okay. ZBA.
Martha's already talked about Pearson Drive, and that's really all I had.
Okay. Concom came back online. I think we had a meeting, our first one was 2 weeks ago, which is basically just getting going. It was the first Zoom meeting, so working out the dynamics. And then we met, I think yesterday, to talk about reorganization and to introduce Mr. Holt as the new town representative, and also to appoint a new chair. So there will be some transition and some things going on, and some passing of information over the next month or so. So that's Concom.
Who's the new chair?
Brian.
Ryan Colleran?
Let's see. What else do we have? MVPC, Martha.
So MVPC has also been conducting virtual meetings for both the commissioners meetings as well as planners meetings. The new executive director started right before everything shut down, Teresa Park. And so I think we've had two commissioner meetings now, and trying to go forward with regular business as much as possible. But she has also organized for a while. There were weekly planner check-in meetings they were for everybody, but more somewhat geared towards some of the larger communities where the planners are also the economic development directors. And they were talking about issues with, first closing down and getting some of the, stimulus money to some of the businesses. And now they're talking about how to help businesses opening up again, things like that. So I don't know when the Zoom meetings will, well, they're actually doing a GoToMeeting, when the remote meetings will stop and they'll go back to regular meetings. I'm guessing they usually take a hiatus during July and August anyway. So I think the June meeting will be remote, and hopefully in September we'll be able to meet in person. We'll see what happens.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Questions?
No.
Okay.
No,
And no minutes, I'm afraid.
That's okay. That's all right. Anything else for anyone before we conclude?
Move to adjourn.
Next meeting. When's the next meeting?
June 17th.
June 17th, yep.
You have 4 public hearings then, is that right?
We actually have 5, 2 of which,
5 now?
one at least will be extremely short, 2 will probably be closed. The only one of substance will be John Colantoni, 108 Main Street.
Okay, thank you.
So I do need to, I actually can't remember, did I distribute hard copies of that to you all?
I think so, yes.
So
I'll have to look through. I have to look through my stack.
I think they were 11 by 17s, if I recall.
That was 108, right?
108 Main Street, right?
Yeah, they were next time, over there somewhere.
Right. And
I did not.
we have gone through one round of peer review revisions addressing that peer review. I just got more comments from Joe Sirwatka on the second round. So I will provide you with all the comments and updated plans for the next meeting.
Thank you, Martha.
Welcome.
Everyone, I want to thank you very, very much for continuing to have patience as we go through our Zoom meetings, and thank our members from our public that are participating and our applicants. Sometimes we run into bumps and technology works with us and doesn't, but we try to do our best to get through it and make it all smooth. So I appreciate everybody's support and cooperation. And George, did I think I hear you start a motion?
Yeah, the motion is still out there. Move to adjourn.
Thank you. Is there there's a second. I'm going to, any discussion on the motion? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to have to do a roll call vote. How say you, George?
Yes.
Yes, Larry,
Yes.
Mary.
Yeah.
Leslie,
Yes.
and Woody.
Yes.
And I think I'd agree as well. Everyone, thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Martha.
Good night, all.
Have a good
Thank
evening.
you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thanks, you too.